Are you selling your property? Get ready for costs that you never saw coming. Hi, I'm Tsai. If you haven't met, I'm a real estate broker in Southern California. Last year, our team has sold over 1,000 properties and volume at almost $1 billion. So in this channel, my goal is to be able to share with you where you can live, work, and play, and important real estate knowledge and information, which will ultimately help you as a home buyer and seller to make your real estate decision on your real estate journey. So you're thinking about selling your property. So in this episode, I want to share with you that aside from the price that you're selling from your property, what are some of the costs that you just really never thought of? So let's get right into it. When it comes to closing costs, typically when a homeowner is looking to sell their home, we will give them a net sheet, which includes all of the closing costs, which I would say there's commission, there's escrow, title, and there's transfer tax, there is tax, and there's sometimes HOA, whatever cost that they want to charge, recording, notary. But there are things like that where the homeowner isn't, well, they don't really pay attention to. I would say one of the things that they often overlook is property tax, because property tax is prorated. The owner, they will have to pay up to the days that they are staying, meaning the day of their close of escrow dates. And sometimes they just don't remember, and so you gotta know a lot of times it's a couple $1,000s or tens of thousands of dollars depending on its price point. And also one of the things that they overlook will be whatever bill that they owe the city or the HOA. It doesn't really happen often. I would say property tax is probably one of the most common overlooked item for homeowners. So when it comes to closing costs for homeowners, meaning sellers, typically I would say it runs between 0.5 to 1.5%, sometimes a little bit higher. And I would say just anticipate 1 to 1.5%. So don't forget that you also gotta pay off the loan that you originally got when you purchased the property. So you will have to pay off your lender, and so that way after all the closing costs, how much you owe to the bank, you will get what's called your net in your pocket. So there are a couple costs when it comes to repairs. Obviously, depending on your property condition, when we first list your property, let's say if you're ready to sell your home, we will do a walkthrough to give you some guidance and pointers on where are some of the places where we don't want you to leave money on the table. You could do some touch up, minor remodeling, sometimes even major remodeling, so that way you can get the most out of selling your home. When it comes to repair, it could be pre-market repair, that could be some cost there, and some properties should use staging, whether virtual or live staging. Obviously live staging is always better, but depending on your budget, virtual staging is also an option. But we have a great staging team which they can give you a consultation and help you out with staging. The goal is that if you spend $10,000, we want you to be able to get at least $20, $30, $40,000 back from your investment. Staging costs, and after we open escrow, the buyer will likely do an inspection. Then it really depends on the condition of your home. There may be some repair costs needed there. Maybe there are some termite damage that was done, which then you, like most of the time, the seller take care of the termite situation. Like I said, every situation is different, and our goal is to negotiate as much as possible so you don't have to pay anything or too much out of your pocket. But expect, depending on the situation and your home quality and what's broken, what needs to be repaired, just know that we will negotiate as much as possible for you. So when it comes to selling a property, every time before we even put on the market, actually, before we even meet, let's say if we know what the sellers are selling for, we will provide a seller what's called a net sheet. It's kind of like when you sell your home, after all the fees and costs, how much are you gonna actually get in your bank after everything. So this way you can know after you sell it what you can do with that money, right? Because some people, they want to buy a different property to live in. Some people, they want to invest that money into stock, or sometimes even life insurance, and or they want to buy investment property. So we definitely will provide a net sheet to the sellers before we list the property, and obviously during escrow, when we identify a buyer to find out the actual selling price, that's where we'll provide an updated net sheet. We'll call it closing statement, a HUD statement from the escrow, so that way you can get a more accurate estimate on how much you'll be getting after you close escrow. That way you can plan, right? We don't want to just help you sell it and then be like, case by case. So yeah, then we'll provide a net sheet during escrow, after closing, so this way you can make the best plan after you sell the home. Typically, when we help a seller sell their property, there isn't anything that's like shocking or hidden fee whatsoever. But I have seen a situation where many years ago, a seller wanted to sell their home. And then as we're talking to one of the sellers, because sometimes the other seller will be out of town or a little bit older, where it may take a little bit more effort to get everybody together. So we're having that preliminary conversation on, they may want to sell their property. And then after we talk to them, we had like second conversation. We pull the preliminary title report, which is very important when you're trying to sell your home. We want to make sure that there are no clouds on the title, because escrow need to make sure that the title is all cleared before we make that transfer of title, to avoid any lawsuits, to protect the seller and also obviously the buyer. And as we did that, we found out that there may be some fraudulent situation from the parents, because it's a property owned by the parents and the kid. I believe it's something like the parents signed on behalf of the daughter or something like that, which obviously is a no-no, and which we found out they did that many years ago, even before we knew them. So I would say when it comes to selling a property, sometimes those hidden things on title could mean the biggest hidden cost when it comes to a transaction, because legal fee is the biggest hidden cost. If current parties who own the property together, or sometimes because somebody did something shady, try to bust some shenanigan to do something fraudy. I don't know if fraudy is a word, but anyway, I don't mind. You know what I'm trying to say. Those definitely we want to check it. I would say when you're thinking about selling your property, that's something that we do always when we're helping a client to sell their property. So if you're looking to sell your property, my biggest advice for you is to understand why you want to sell the property. Some people, they say they want to sell just because they feel like they want to sell. There is not really a solid reason for them to sell, and sometimes it makes more sense to keep the property. So if you're looking to sell your property, or if you're thinking about it, reach out to me and I'll be able to help you assess whether or not it makes sense for you to do it. And I mean, trust me, I have informed a good amount of my clients not to sell their property because it makes more sense to keep it. My biggest piece of advice for people who's thinking about selling their home is to understanding the reasoning behind it. What are you gonna do after you sell your property? Are you looking to buy another one? Does it make more sense to buy another one? Does it make more sense to just keep it or rent it out or sell it and then just cash out and live on that money? Or just invest into different categories? Those are things that we can give you some recommendation. Obviously, we're not financial advisors, but we have helped to provide our clients options. Like I said again, because we have been in the industry for quite some while, and we are connected to many different professionals from different industries. We'll be able to give you some options. That way you can make the best decision for you and your family. For instance, we have helped clients to sell their homes and then they got into commercial real estate. We have helped people who own their apartments to sell it, and then they decided to bring that money to open up a business. Right? There are just different options and opportunities. Depends on what's important to you. In real estate, or when it comes to investment, buying and selling, it's almost never one size fits all. It really is what's your situation and what are the options and what's best for you. I will say one more thing before I close out the video. I would say, based on my experience, more than 50% of the people when they are selling their property, they are looking to buy another one. So understand that some sellers, they are like, hey, if I don't sell it for $1 million, I won't make the move. Or if I'm not making this amount, or if I'm not breaking even, I'm not making a move. Especially if you're buying another property. Please understand that if you're not making much money here, or you're breaking even, or if you're losing money on the sale of your homes, perhaps on the other side of the homes that you're buying, you're also getting it for cheaper. So don't let that $10, $20, $30,000 to stop what you really wanted to do with your life, where you want to live, your business or investment opportunity. And look at the alternative. If you were to let $10, $20, $30,000 go, where can you get into? And by moving to the new place, will you feel better? Would you be able to make more money? Right? Look into that scenario, then it may change your decision. So hopefully that's helpful. So if you're thinking about selling your property, you're thinking about, hey, what can I do with the money? Where can I go? How much would I net? Just reach out to us and we'll be able to help you to create a custom tailored plan for you. And like I said, you can then decide what's best for you. Keep it or sell it or rent it out or not do anything. So if you like the content, please help us share, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. That would really help us out and we'll really appreciate it. I will see you in the next episode. Peace.